In the words of Rihanna, you look so dumb right now. Bro, you did all this for nothing. Jake Paul just fought Mike Tyson. Hi, it's me, Mike Tyson. Watch my fight with Peter McNeely. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to be, it's like Customato told me, take no prisoners. And they look equal in size to Jake Paul in this picture right here. It's hated. Like, bro, you're not most hated. You're just doing like weirdo kind of moves that are perceived as corny. The Justice League that is formed to help Jake Paul for little old Tank is quite embarrassing. Why would you even need to say that? Shakur and all them ran to Jake Paul, and then in the end, you did it to help him prepare to beat Tank, and then now, if the fight gets canceled, he don't even have the opportunity to try to beat Tank. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Voltron. The Justice League. The Avengers. This is what Shakur Stevenson and co. look like working with Jake Paul, helping him get ready for little old Tank Davis, Gervonta Tank Davis. Man, stop playing with it. In this video, I'm going to break down everything y'all need to know, and we're going to get it cracking. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. A couple of you guys sent me DMs, and I know y'all want my opinion. New pictures emerge on the internet. Y'all know I'm the king of that. On the internet of Shakur Stevenson in camp, actually sparring with Jake Paul. In the next 1 minute, I will show you. I got the proof. I got what you want. I got what you need. Can I get up? Stop playing with me. I wish I could sing. I can't sing though. But follow me on social media. I know you see it. Shakur Stevenson worked with Jake Paul in sparring pics leak online today. Boom. You never know. Exhibit A. There's Jake Paul without his shirt, training, got the towel in his gym, and he dapping up Mr. Stevenson, the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger from Newark. Let's see. Right? In case y'all didn't believe me, there go your boy Jake Paul. And who is that? Shakur Stevenson. You see the SS on the cup? Pause. So this is an actual thing now. He got pictures like, smiling with Jake Paul. Ray Ford in the back, wiping his eye. Look, you got Montana Love, Jake Paul, Shakur, Ray Ford, and Keyshawn Davis. Now, in my videos, I always keep it real. I've been a part of this game for 15 plus years of committed, giving y'all heat rock. I've been in fighters camps. I watched fighters spar, been to the biggest fights of that year. I've done it all in this game. Before a lot of these young cats were even pro fighters. This new generation, they are not holding the fort down in the right way, by and large. That is my honest opinion. And y'all know I've been saying that. They just not doing it, bro. For starters, the Justice League that is formed to help Jake Paul for little old Tank is quite embarrassing, right? Now, I've been in boxing, as I mentioned, so I understand you work with different people of different walks of life. That's not even the issue. But outside of Jake Paul, because he's the person training, so I don't got no smoke with that. He's just trying to get ready. So, of course, he's going to pick whoever he can. Every single black fighter in this picture, and they're all black except for Jake Paul, has had beef with Tank Davis. Montana Love sparred Tank Davis. Facts. Shakur Stevenson sparred and used to be friends with Tank Davis. Facts. Ray Ford was going back and forth with Tank on social media. Facts. Keyshawn has clout chased and done the same thing as pretty much all the other fighters in this row. Facts. And said he wanted to fight Tank. Now, for starters, I've always said this, but we gonna double down. This generation is capped with the weights. Point blank, period. Ego Weight Watchers, the tried and true formula. I've been doing this at an elite level. The ego eye is something like an eagle eye. I'm very talented. I can look, I see, I compute, and I can have a running idea of fighters' weights. And, you know, once I know their height and seen them, I know approximately where they fit in. This new generation is absolutely capped. We need to go back to same day weigh-ins. And I know the haters, the Inshakurs, the Shakurians, and Keyshawn fan and all this stuff. They're going to be like, oh, but ego, what do you mean? As long as they make the weight on the Friday, what do you mean? I'm going to show you what I mean. Jake Paul just fought Mike Tyson. Hi, it's me, Mike Tyson. Watch my fight with Peter McNeely. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to be, it's like Customato told me, take no prisoners. I'm just ferocious. I want his heart. I want his heart like artichokes. Y'all artichoke. I want all the smoke. Right? The man fought a heavyweight. Mike Tyson was bigger than him and weighed around 223 to 227. Other fights with, let's say, Mike Perry, 190 to 205 pounds, and then rehydrate, I don't know. But somewhere in the right around 200 pounds, he's been fighting at. These other dudes campaign in the 130s, the 140s at best, and they look equal in size to Jake Paul in this picture right here. Montana Love fought Liam Paro. I was there when he got knocked out. Right? And that was at 140 pounds. Jake Paul is pretty much a cruiserweight / heavyweight. And he don't look like mad dwarfed. Look at Shakur, right? We gonna go down the list. We ain't done enough. Bro, look at Shakur. He don't look mad smaller than a cruiserweight, right? Look at Ray Ford. Ray Ford fights at whatever. We just moved up to 130 pounds, right? He 130 pounder and he's standing next to 140 pounders because Keyshawn's moving up. I guess Shakur said he's fighting T.O. or might fight T.O. at 140. And he look small next to these guys. And then look at Keyshawn, who's been fighting at lightweight, and he looked like the biggest. He looked like the tallest, and he looked pretty big. So that's the reality. The game is now capped. Gone are the days of Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. I believe, I believe in God. He and Jinky, they show me the light, and I want to, right? 222, all that's gone. Bernard Hopkins, all them fighters, they're gone. Where to excel, these B-Hops, the Pacquiaos, the guys like Shane Mosley, guys like Floyd, they didn't have to like aggressively be larger than their opponent in order to achieve victories. This new generation, they on some different stuff. These dudes, or their walk around weights are crazy, and there's new advancements in medical science and sports science and nutrition, and they're taking full advantage of it. And it shows, because these dudes, if you put Tank in the same lineup, Tank would look tiny in here. He would look like the odd man out, because he would be a lot shorter and not as big as these other dudes, right? So for one, it looks bad for that, because every fighter in that picture has pretty much pursued a beef and said they wanted to fight Tank pretty much. So now it makes you really think as a boxing fan, right? Think. These dudes who don't look undersized next to a heavyweight cruiserweight in Jake Paul, these guys are chomping at the bit to fight a little and clout chase a small, like 5'5", 5'6" Tank. It just shows you how lit Gervonta Davis is. Now, again, Keyshawn missed his weight. That's his bad. But I guess if some people are going to be torn on this, because some people are like, oh, if they make the weight in the fight, it doesn't matter. We need to change the rules then, because people are almost abusing the weight, right? Where and it's not just them. This is just in boxing, where people are 200 pounds and crunching down to 175 or 160 or whatever the case is, right? Even Crawford, he didn't look a lot smaller despite moving up 3 weight classes against Canelo. So it's just like a epidemic in the sport of boxing with people's weights. That's one thing. But moving on from that, right? To me, this is a bad look, because you have all these black fighters, American fighters, who have teamed up with Jake Paul, a guy who, he hasn't been, let's be real, he was doing other things and acting or whatever, skits. He wasn't always a fighter. They've all teamed up, flew out to be in camp and inspire and help Jake Paul to try to beat Gervonta Davis, right? They were all willing to lend a helping hand. Now, if anybody got a pass, maybe it's Montana Love, because my sources have told me that he has already worked with Jake Paul in the past prior to this. But as far as everybody on this side, like the left side of Jake Paul, Shakur, Ray Ford, and Keyshawn, they're all buddies. They're all kind of a collective and all friends with each other. You see Keyshawn arm around Ray Ford. They all vouch for each other and stuff like that. And they're teaming up to help Jake Paul against a common enemy. To me, I feel like this kind of makes boxing look corny. Shakur was a former friend of Tank Davis, right? There's a picture of Keyshawn Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Tank Davis, right? So Keyshawn Davis, Tank Davis, and they're all in this one picture in, I believe, the Mayweather gym when Tank was still with Mayweather Promotions. And they look all happy and giddy to be in the gym with Gervonta Davis. They just kind of look like fans, to be honest. And then there's another picture where Tank had a professional fight, and he says, this is what Tank says. Tank says that Shakur begged to, I don't know about begged, but he said he was asking to get clearance to come into his locker room after one of his fights and probably a knockout win. And he was excited about that. And the picture, Shakur's all smiling. These guys went from that in this picture with Tank and presumably like kind of being friends with Tank to now working with a common enemy to try to get Tank beat. I've already talked about this from day one. For starters, a lot of y'all owe Jerron Boots Ennis an apology, because when Boots worked with Canelo Alvarez, y'all was mad. Y'all was like, oh, How come Boots is working with Canelo to try to beat Terrence Crawford? This is an abomination. He ought to be ashamed. I'm no longer a Gervonta Davis fan because, or actually not Gervonta Davis. They said Jaron Ennis. I'm no longer a Jaron Ennis fan because how could he do this? Why would he do this to try to defeat Terrence Crawford? And then that didn't even really make sense, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, Boots was trying to fight Crawford. He don't owe nothing to Crawford. These other dudes were friends with Tank Davis and cool with him. And then they rushed over as soon as Jake called or, reached out to one of them. They're like, yeah, let me bring my buddies or however this happened. And now they've signed up and formed Voltron in order to try to get Tank beat. Tank got to be the most hated in the boxing game right now. And it clearly shows because no other fighter, like people don't join forces, like known Dimitri Bivol rivals or nemesis don't join forces. Like, can you imagine, we'll just use an example, right? Can you imagine that Dimitri Bivol's wife, she was beefing with him. So let's say she starts working with Artur Beterbiev. So they join forces, and then Beterbiev and Benavidez start sparring, like, and working together and helping each other to try to, like, so you got Bivol's ex-wife, and I'm just making a random boxing comparison. Dimitri Bivol, ex-wife or girlfriend or whatever she was, Kate Bivol, she beefing with Bivol. You got Benavidez who wants to fight Bivol, and then you got Beterbiev who kind of has beef with Bivol. They all join forces to get Bivol a loss. That's corny to me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm from the old school. Some of y'all new cats, you YNs, y'all might be like, oh man, this is popping. This is what all the new kids are doing. To me, that's kind of corny, right? If one of y'all went down to help Jake Paul, cool. But you brought the whole camp to, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And again, a lot of y'all was on some Jaron Ennis ought to be ashamed of himself for helping Canelo, despite his brother has history sparring Canelo before Jaron was even a pro fighter, right? So that whole argument didn't even make sense. This is something different. Boots was never really friends with Terrence Crawford. Shakur and Keyshawn and probably Ray Ford were. And then now they're joining forces. But wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. Reports are now coming out. Hopefully you guys have hit the subscribe button. I'm the illest, the best that's ever lived in boxing talk in the digital space. I made this fashionable. I made people, there weren't people podcasting when I started. There weren't people giving boxing news a daily voice in the digital space. Everything was magazines, newspapers, and online, like, write-ups and deadline writers and stuff like that. I got this popping. Check the track record. I'm tried, I'm true, I've been tested. I'm the one. So subscribe for the latest and greatest in boxing. That being said, I give everybody a fair shake. I just, ultimately, I'm going to call it how I see. And this link up to me is just, think, when in boxing history have you seen this, right? The level of hate that Tank gets is definitely this generation's Floyd Mayweather. Because I remember before the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, because that was the big fight where everybody had to see. Some people were saying Pacquiao was going to beat Floyd. I knew from day one that Mayweather was going to win. I was right. Mayweather decision is what happened. Fact. But I remember when they were building up, when Mayweather and Pacquiao, the fight was signed or whatever, they were building up this fight, and HBO or Showtime, because it was a collective, they were putting out like shoulder programming. I remember seeing this shoulder programming in the world of boxing for the Maypac fight, and almost everybody unanimously had this affinity for Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's God-fearing, so he says. He poised and positioned himself as a family man. So people just wanted to like Pacquiao more than Floyd. And Floyd's a black man in America. Let's be real, right? So during this shoulder programming, I remember there was like Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, and they were all like picking Pacquiao or leaning towards Pacquiao. De La Hoya, I remember he said this. De La Hoya says pretty much something to the effect of Floyd could win, but my heart is with Pacquiao. Like he said something like my mind is with Floyd, but my heart's with Pacquiao. Why would you even need to say that? Who gives in the world of boxing, who gives who your heart is with? Heart ain't never helped no fight prediction since boxing been around. You know, like there was races back in the day and Jack Johnson, and your mind is telling you Jack Johnson, but your heart don't want the black guy to win. That's not how boxing works. And it never will work like that. You got to just, if Jack Johnson was that dude, he gonna win. And he did. So to me, that was stupid for De La Hoya when he said that. My heart is with Pacquiao. They want to know your fight prediction, not your heart prediction. And this is giving me vibes of that because I remember all the programming and not just programming, YouTube interviews. People were pushing content, being in the boxing gyms or whatever. And almost across the board, everybody was like wishing and hopeful thinking and hoping that Pacquiao would win. It was very bizarre. Like almost like Floyd, they just wanted him to lose. Same thing with Tank. You look at all these dudes gathered up and like kind of like preying on somebody's downfall. To me, that is pretty corny. And Shakur, like he's popping up. Look, he don't look that small next to a cruiserweight, but you want to fight a 135 pounder. Kind of weird that you're at a 135, but you don't look that small next to a cruiserweight. But beyond that, it's like you ran over here and then Shakur does this like passive aggressive stuff where he'll make moves like this. The fans will react kind of like I'm reacting and say, hey, this is not really a great look. It's not something to quote unquote brag about. Looks kind of corny, looks lame. How could you? You know, people are saying whatever they want. And he's like, hashtag hate me now, hate me, hate me, hate me. Most hated. Like, bro, you're not most hated. You're just doing like weirdo kind of moves that are perceived as corny. And I think a lot of people get that confused. They want to be hated more than they're really hated. Like, that's like a restaurant having bad service. And then they get on Yelp like, oh, we the most hated. Everybody hate the restaurant. No, the food suck. No, your customer service is trash. That's why you're getting a 1-star review. You know, I'm real big on context. People got to put stuff in context. Some people in boxing especially, they want to portray that everyone's just against them and they can't get a fair shake and no one. I don't think people came in the gates annoyed with Shakur. It's actions and what you've done and how you conduct yourself and what you said in interviews or tweets or whatever. And then now people are saying stuff like that. No matter how you slice it, it's kind of a weird move. But like I said, but wait, there's more. The crazy thing is, breaking news, and hopefully you guys subscribe and watch my content. As of recording this video, I don't know how it's going down. However, there are rumors suggesting that Tank is dealing with a lawsuit now that was just made public. That part is not a rumor. I've already reported on that. Supposedly, an ex-girlfriend is accusing Tank of DV. If you know, you know. DV and a bunch of heinous things and comporting himself like a certain way that is not conducive of like championship behavior. So the new reports and rumors are suggesting that Netflix is looking for a backup, like alternate, not even a backup, but an understudy, an alternate opponent, because they don't necessarily want to pursue Tank versus Jake Paul with this lawsuit of like tales of DV like looming over the fight. You know, I don't know how tickets are selling or anything like that, but there's an angry black cloud if you're being sued and you're being accused of X, Y, and Z. Now, this is not my opinion. I don't know what Tank did to the girl, or if it happened or if it didn't happen. I am not the judge, I'm not the jury, and I'm not the executioner. They gonna have to go through this civil lawsuit, or she gonna have to drop it or recant or whatever. However that plays out is how it plays out. But again, as of me recording this video, the rumor is suggesting that they are considering pulling the plug on Jake Paul and Tank. So what does that mean? I'm glad you asked. For me, Shakur, the move already looked bad. You teaming up with Jake Paul along with your buddies to try to beat Tank. But now think, if the fight gets canceled and they don't pursue the Tank fight, you just went to, so you've already put this on your record of it's done. You're pictured right here talking about most hated, sparring with Jake Paul, teaming up. That's already etched in stone. So the point I'm making is this. Now, if the fight gets canceled, you don't get your way, because Jake Paul, if the fight's canceled and he don't fight this exhibition, and it's not even a real fight, it's an exhibition, and these people are coming to help him for an exhibition. I forgot to mention that earlier in this video, but that's another reason. If this was like a professional fight guaranteed to count on the record, regular rules, regular rounds and stuff like that, maybe that, I mean, it's still kind of corny and lame, but it's at least it's a real fight. These dudes are helping Jake Paul, a former YouTuber, Nickelodeon, Disney kid, whatever he was on, right, to try to win an exhibition. But then the point I'm making about the Tank case, if Netflix bails out and says Tank got this stuff going on, we don't want no parts of it, because you have to understand, these big corporations and companies, they don't put their neck on the line. If you're getting like bad press, like real bad publications and press, and cancel culture is looking for you or whatever is going on, they just assume cut ties with you rather than impact their business, because Netflix is a big company to the point where if they pursue an avenue and say, F it, he got this DV stuff going, we don't know what's going on with it, if he'll be found guilty or innocent or liable, have to pay, we don't know, but it's hanging over the event. If we push through the event, then you might have all these, like, you know, women's suffrage, women rights, and different groups, activist groups and stuff coming out telling everyone boycott Netflix, because they support they're out here supporting Ike Turner. Y'all know what I mean? Oh, you gonna eat the cake? This some good cake, anime. Eat the cake. This some good cake, anime, bro. So they don't want to come across like they support Ike Turner. Ike Turner, eat the cake, anime. So this happens a lot. I remember when Manny Pacquiao, he said a comment about the LGBTQ or whatever, and he said they're worse than animals. Look it up. Because he's religious, and his religion, I guess, is he's on some different stuff. Nike and Hennessy and all these people like drop Pacquiao because they don't want to be tethered and tied to that. When Ray Rice had the clip in the elevator, he was supposed to be on the Madden game. They're like, nope, pulled him from the cover. When Kyrie had made statements about his watch list and it offended people, if you know, you know. I'm just giving y'all examples. People wasn't messing with him in that stretch. So we live in different times. Even Tank had an opponent, Rolly. When Rolando Romero was about to fight Tank, there was some girl with kind of similar accusations where she was like, Rolly did this to me, this happened, this was not, like, this was against my wishes and consent. Look it up. So Showtime canceled it. Rolly had to take care of that. They had to do an investigation, but Rolly event got canceled. And then the Sunday fight with Tank was replaced. And that's how he ended up fighting Eastside Pitbull Cruz. So as of me recording this video, I don't know if anything has changed. So I don't know what the outcome will ultimately be from Netflix. If these are just rumors and reports that Netflix is potentially going to pull the plug on the Tank fight with Jake Paul and it's in jeopardy. But I wouldn't be surprised because, again, Showtime did the same thing with Tank and Rolly. And then they subbed in Pitbull Cruz, which was another great fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix really is pursuing other options in lieu of this case coming out, because you have to understand a lot of this stuff is strategic. It's very strategic that people have issues with athletes, in this case boxers, and then they file the lawsuit and the complaint right before a big fight. Happened to Floyd Mayweather. See, I know my boxing. I don't need no Wikipedia. I don't need no Chat GPT. I don't need Google. I got it up in here. I done forgot more than y'all ever learned. I'm the best at this. Floyd was about to fight Maidana, and Miss Jackson ended up suing him with that Gloria Allred. Right? So he was dealing with that before the Maidana fight. And a lot of times people do that to maximize publicity. You're going to get the max publicity if Floyd got a big fight coming up, if Tank got a big fight coming up, and that's how you maximize if you're the one pursuing legal action, you really make a stand by doing it at a certain moment. Kind of like when Jake Paul fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The day after, a couple days after, they deported him, and it was big news because he just came off the Jake Paul fight. So this stuff is intentional, staging it like that and leaking it like that. But back to Shakur and them, all these dudes ran up in Jake Paul's camp trying to help him for an exhibition against the guy that they don't like any longer, Tank Davis. Looks kind of weird, but it's going to look very bizarre if the fight gets canceled, which is a rumor as of me recording the video. You did, because then what happens in these cases is this. Let's say the fight gets canceled. So what happened? Netflix, let's say they wipe their hands clean. They like, we don't want no parts of that. I gave you examples of how that's plausible. I'm not Netflix, so I don't know the outcome, but it's plausible. So if Netflix washes their hands clean of the Tank Jake Paul fight, say we don't want this on our platform, it's too much negativity, right? Look at Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors had all this stuff, another black American. He had all this stuff with this chick was saying he did this and this happened. They were planning on expanding his character, that Kang from the Ant-Man movie, and making it into a whole like part of the universe and a main lore and bad guy for future Marvel movies. But then when Jonathan Majors had this bad press with this girl and the girl saying this and that, Marvel Disney was like, phew, and they kind of like canceled him and they wasn't messing with him. I can give you example because I'm an educated brother, man. Same thing happened to, what's the girl? The MMA chick. She was on The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian chick. Gina Carano. Right? The cyborg one, linked to Cyborg. Gina Carano said some things. Disney canceled her. This is how companies work. So again, I don't know the outcome, but people are saying this is going to be explored. So what does Shakur and Ray Ford and all these dudes look like? You ran up in Jake Paul's camp trying to help him beat Tank, and then the fight gets kaput and don't happen. The thing is, you got to still live with your decisions. People won't forget how you moved. You know what I mean? That's why I don't do anything that I'll regret. I'm not saying, I try not to do things that I'll have regret. I try to make the right decision the first time, if that makes sense. Because if you do something, you take a shortcut, you do some fraud stuff or in a fraudulent way, And then when it comes out, that's what you're known for. People are gonna be like, yeah, he did this, this, and this, but he attained it in a fraudulent way. So now you got fraud on your jacket, right? Just like the people that was doing them PPP loan scams. It was cool for a minute, but then what? Now they in prison. Now they got to pay restitution to $3.5 million that they stole. And now their reputation is like, nobody gonna give you a loan. Nobody gonna trust you. So this is why you got to make the right decisions, in my opinion. Shakur and all them ran to Jake Paul, and then in the end, you did it to help him prepare to beat Tank. And then now, if the fight gets canceled, he don't even have the opportunity to try to beat Tank. In the words of Rihanna, you look so dumb right now, trying to apologize. Bro, you did all this for nothing. If the Tank fight with Jake Paul gets and canceled because Netflix don't want to be associated with what Tank got going on right now, with this girl coming out with this shocking allegations, then again, now you got to live with the reality of what you did. You and your buddies ran to Jake Paul, trying to help him and gear him up for Tank, and then the fight might not happen. See, I promise you, on everything I love, this is why I'm very cautious what I get involved with, because this just makes you look bad. You get involved with the wrong things, because now you already come across as a hater before this, but now you really look like a hater. You really look like a hater, bruh. And what's insane about it is the fact that all you guys that don't like Tank, you literally like try to dogpile him and team up on him, which makes him even bigger. It's like, it looks like jealousy to me. I don't know how y'all view it, but for me, it looks like jealousy. Like, not as like necessarily as a man, but like jealous of what he has, and the fans resonate. You know, for Shakur, he don't have power like that. Maybe that makes you insecure. Like, I love Clarissa Shields, but the reality is with Clarissa Shields is she's not a big puncher. She's a great fighter, not a big puncher. She keep going in on Layla Ali, saying I'm so much better and this and that, and they beefing. And one thing Layla Ali had, just like Ann Wolfe, is vicious knockout power. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to pick your battles, because sometimes these things make you look bad. Like, it's like a skinny dude who can't really gain weight. Cool. You know, maybe that's your genetics or whatever. But you see a buff dude and you start getting in your feelings. It is going to make you look like, dang, the buff dude's getting the girls. The buff dude is like got the beach body on Smidash for the females. And now it looks like you're salty at it. But as I told you, representatives for Jake Paul have made an offer. Made an offer. When do you make an offer unless you're trying to take Tank up the mix? It says they made an offer, and he works with Sports Illustrated and NBC, in case you were wondering. Reps for Jake Paul made an offer for Ryan Garcia to fight Jake Paul in December. Two sources with knowledge of this offer told us. Ryan Garcia is not the only opponent that Jake Paul's team has approached, but they are aggressively pursuing a replacement opponent for Gervonta Davis. It's the way the cookie Chris crumbles. It happened to Victor Ortiz. I know my boxing. Victor Ortiz, I think he was supposed to fight John Molina. Victor Ortiz had a woman come out, say Victor Ortiz did bop, 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 bop and I'm censoring it. But the girl said, won't wampty, filth, flooring, and filth. And PBC was like, Diddy. They was like, we're not doing this fight anymore, bro. And in this society we live in today, I think companies are going to take this approach 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10. No company wants to lose money on account of somebody else's behavior. If there's someone who, like, you see these Karen videos, right? And they're like, saying some racist stuff or whatever. The Karen, the people, the sleuths of the internet and the detectives, they'll see the person's face. They'll do a little research, find out where this Karen works at, and then they'll send the video to said company. I remember one time it was Party World, which went out of business, but a couple years ago, somebody had some kind of racist clip, and then it come to find out they worked at Party World. The detectives on the internet found out she worked at Party World, sent the video, sent their complaint like, hey, Party World, this is what y'all are hiring. This is y'all employee. This is your district manager, blah, blah, blah. And then she got let go of. More often than not, 2025 and beyond, this is the approach, because, and you got to understand it. I feel multi ways about it, but I'm just talking about from a business perspective. Netflix makes a lot of money. They have popular shows like Monster, Ed Gein, Wednesday, right? They could do Chris Hemsworth, The Extraction Part 3, Narcos, bring a spinoff series. They have options. Their bread and butter is not live boxing. They recently only started doing Canelo Crawford and Serrano Taylor 3, Jake Paul, and Mike Tyson. This ain't their bread and butter as of right now. So from a business perspective, we need to address the facts. Why would Netflix? I don't even know why I'm talking like that. Why would Netflix still proceed with the Tank fight? Who knows? Right? It don't make sense for them. They're like, you got negative press, which in turn could give us negative press. We out of here, bro. And that looks to be the case. Netflix and reps for Jake Paul have been exploring potential replacements for Tank Davis. Sources familiar with the situation told Sports Illustrated. Paul Davis, scheduled for November 14th, is in limbo after new DV charges or lawsuit or whatever against Tank. Boom. So I stand by everything that I said. If this is the case and the fight burns out for the obvious reason, bad press, bad timing, and they pull Tank from it, what does Shakur, Ray Ford, Montana Love, and Keyshawn look like now that we know for a fact, the culture now knows that these dudes ran to Puerto Rico, which I believe is where he trains, flew over there, flew out, and this was to help sharpen him to try to beat Tank. It just doesn't, this particular situation doesn't, he got blood on his shirt. Y'all see that? Y'all can see with my pointer right there. He got blood, somebody's blood. I don't know if that's him. I don't know what happened. And the other thing is, like I said earlier in this video, look how big Shakur looks. You trying to fight Tank, you need to be fighting Mike Tyson. You need to be fighting Wilder. You look kind of big, Brody. You see what I'm saying? Like the game is just looking super bizarre right now. But we can't blame Jake Paul for this, because you can say whatever you want about him, but he's putting on for women's boxing. That's undeniable. He picked Tank. I mean, it is what it is. You ain't never heard me say Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul was like my favorite fight. I never said that. The only thing I have said was I watch it and I said I understand it. Like I understand the business. I understand how we got here. And check out my old videos if you need more clarification on why I said that, because I've already explained it. So that's all I've said. It was always, for me, kind of a weird fight anyway, to be honest. It was kind of a weird fight. So I didn't really care like that. So I'm not saying, I don't prefer to have it canceled because of this reason. But, if that's how Netflix feel, what can I do? They don't want to keep fighting. But again, I'm going to keep saying it. I think this makes Shakur and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers look really bad because we know what your intent was. It's like the bad guy in the movie been trying to kill the good guy the whole movie, right? And then now when the good guy got the upper hand and the bad guy's falling off a cliff or something, and he's like, please help, pull me up. Come on, man. What? Like, you've been trying to unalive me the whole movie. So, like, the intent was there. I'm real big on the intent. Like, let's say you are supposed to be working graveyard shifts, right? And you live with your girl. And you go to work. She's under the pretense that you won't be back until 9 a.m. in the morning because you're working this graveyard hours at your job, right? She's supposed to be at home asleep, and you forgot something, and then you drive back because you have a little bit of commute. You drive back, and then you see your girl was trying to sneak some dude in your crib, right? I said your girl was trying to sneak some dude off up in your crib. Now, you caught him right at that moment. So nothing necessarily occurred because they didn't have time to get it cracking. They didn't have time to Netflix and chill because it was spoiled by you coming back. Like, oh man, I forgot something. I forgot my battery charger. I forgot my whatever. So you came back and you kind of thwarted their plans. But you would look at the intent like this was really about to do me greasy. She was about to do me crazy, right? You wouldn't be like, oh, nothing happened. You would look at your girl like, I'm out of here, bro. Or you got to kick rocks. You get up on my place. You know what I mean? Because the intent is not just the action, or another simplified version using the whole relationship analogy is there's cheating and there's emotionally leaving the relationship before the cheating hasn't happened per se, but you're acting inappropriate with a coworker, sending these messages, even though y'all never went on a date, even though y'all never touched, y'all never, you didn't take it there, but if your girl's seen your text messages and seen the level of flirting and what y'all was talking about, it would be a problem, right? So again, it's the intent. Even though you didn't actually move to first, second, third base home run, your intent was there to do that. So that's how I'm looking at Shakur is even if this fight don't come off, right? Maybe it don't. Maybe it gets canceled. As of this video, I don't know. But your intent was there you have so much disdain for Tank that you was really out here in Jake Paul camp trying to get him right. So you could be like, if Jake Paul won. And for me, the thing that's also super weird about that, Tank was always a weird fight for me, for Jake Paul, because of Jake Paul's size. Like, he literally is a cruiserweight, fought at heavyweight. Like, it was kind of weird anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people feel this way. You fought Tommy Fury and lost. We still haven't got a rematch, but y'all were equivalent, like age and size. Y'all both were like a nice size, a nice weight, and similar ages. So I think more people now are at a point where they want to see people around your age and around your size. Like Mike Tyson, he might have had some size, but he was 20 something years removed from being a pro fighter. He's also short, and you know, he's a weed smoking. I'm thirsty. You know what I mean? He's a podcaster now. He's a former fighter, but he's just not he wasn't an active fighter, not in his prime, stuff like that. So we'll see. Hopefully, if this is replaced, they get a good replacement. And hopefully it's not a 130 pounder or whatever, 135 pounder like Tank, to be honest, because I don't even understand how that's a thing. But these companies like Netflix, they're looking for the almighty dollar. So again, I understand why it happens. It's a slow year for boxing in general. You haven't had that many colossal fights and things like that. These companies they're trying to turn profit. It is what it is. Tank's a big name. Jake Paul's a big name. Boom. They mashed them together. Canelo pulled out and went with the Saudis. Jake Paul needed someone. Netflix needed an event. And see, Netflix, from a business perspective, they're playing it real smart. They're playing it smart in the fact that they're not really committing to boxing. Like, I heard Dana White almost got UFC to Netflix, but the problem was they only wanted the specialty fights, like Alex Pereira's fighting, or, you know, your big John Jones is coming back, or Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, you know, like more so your pay-per-view type of fights. They don't want the fights like Calvin Kattar, Monday night fight type of stuff. They don't want that. They're looking for like the big fights. So to be honest, Netflix, from a business perspective, they're playing it smart because they're cherry picking. They are cherry picking boxing. They're like, Canelo Crawford, we could work with that. Okay, Jake Paul, he's making some noise. Him and Mike Tyson, yeah, we'll definitely do that. Gervonta is a big brand. Jake Paul's a big brand. Okay, put them together. And then like, Gervonta got legal trouble. Maybe not. Maybe get someone else for Jake Paul. You see what I'm saying? So they're playing it real smart because, again, I've already exposed the sauce. I'm giving you that sauce. Netflix don't need boxing. They make plenty of money with movies, their catalog, TV shows, and the rights to whatever else they got going, a Netflix studio, whatever. They make enough money with that, so they don't have to really heavily rely on boxing being a success. And unfortunately, that's where we're at in boxing. Let me know how I did in this video. Let me know what your true thoughts are about Shakur teaming up with Jake Paul to try to get Tank beat. I find it to be a bit weird. I've expressed throughout this video why I felt it was weird. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.